Now, Sports Talk with Brodes. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Sports Talk with Brodes. We are broadcasting live from the Manscaped Man Cave. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BROD at manscaped.com. I want you to be in a different mindset for this podcast. So I want you to close your eyes, take a couple deep breaths, exhale, and wherever you normally are when you're in your comfort zone talking sports, wherever your favorite place is and whatever favorite people you are normally around when sports is the hot topic of conversation, go there mentally. If you normally drink beers, drink beers. If you're normally smoking weed, hitting the bowl, ripping the pen, smoking a blunt, do that too. Because today is going to be a hypothetical mixed with a dose of maybe reality. And it's barroom conversation. That's all. Let's have some fun today. Barroom talk, throwing out some Sixers hypotheticals. And I'm going to give you 4 options. Option number 1, trade Ben Simmons for James Harden. Option number 2, trade Ben Simmons for Devin Booker. Option number 3, keep Ben and Joel, make a trade for Jrue Holiday. Or number 4, stay as is. Maybe you can move on from Horford or Tobias, but you can't make a trade for Jrue Holiday. So any option other than trading for Jrue Holiday when keeping Ben and Joel is option number 4. And the reason why Ben Simmons is the hot topic, say, over Joel Embiid when it comes to these hypothetical trades, yes, it is because of the way Daryl Morey spoke about Joel Embiid. And that doesn't mean that Ben Simmons is a goner, that Daryl Morey hates Ben Simmons. He has brought up 1,000,000 times the power of a 24-year-old with the potential that Ben Simmons has. So I'm not claiming that just because Daryl Morey puts up pictures of Joel and Embiid, that they're FaceTiming and there's clearly a love fest going on between the two, that automatically will result in Ben Simmons no longer wearing a Philadelphia 76ers uniform. I don't believe that totally. There might be something to it, but I'm not sitting here absolutely convinced 100% that Ben Simmons is on the move. But Daryl Morey is going out of his way to be so close with Joel Embiid, to FaceTime him, to post the pictures. He doesn't need to do that. So if he was in the mindset of, hey, I will move on from Joel Embiid at some point, you wouldn't even go down the road that you're going down with Joel Embiid. You don't have to be the way that you are. You don't have to stress the power of dominance that Joel Embiid has. You don't need to mention that Joel Embiid is the type of dominating NBA superstar that wins you a championship. You are going down that road because, well, you believe that this guy can do it for this franchise. You're not getting as much hype with Ben. And once again, that's fine. That doesn't mean that he's automatically traded and getting his ass out of here in Philadelphia. But if you want to have some fun conversations, and James Harden's in the news and tied with the Philadelphia 76ers, Shams with the report that the Sixers are expected to go out and make a push and pursue for James Harden. Well, guess what? If it's not Joel Embiid, there's nobody else that you are possibly getting James Harden with. You can't lie to yourself and just assume that, oh yeah, look, you can pick anyone but those two. No one would do that trade. If you're the team with James Harden, would you ever do that? No, it's not even close to a real scenario. So it would take a talent like Ben Simmons to do it. Same with Devin Booker. That's why I'm choosing Ben Simmons. At the end of the day, in real life, in the real world, do I think that they're going to get traded? No, I don't think that Joel or Ben is going to get broken up for this offseason. There's a reason why Doc Rivers came here with this roster. Super stoked to get his fingerprints on Joel and Ben Simmons. There's no doubt about it, because that was way before Daryl Morey was even in the mix. So he came here for a reason. He wanted to get into the lab with these two. So I don't think they do. But let's have some fun with it, because there are some reports, and there's some reports for a reason. I don't think it came up out of nowhere. Shams is a very respected individual. There's a reason why James Harden and the 76ers were tied together. And now with Devin Booker, like maybe you didn't have the intention of trading one of these two, but now that names are starting to pop out there, and now that Devin Booker's unhappy, hey, that opens up the door that you never would have thought about maybe a week ago or so. So let's start out with James Harden. I know we talked about him previously in a podcast, but look, the shorter window moving on from Ben Simmons to James Harden plays a factor. His age, he hit the 30 mark, 30, 31. Your window is significantly shorter if you were to make that move. Now you have a volume shooter, a volume scorer in James Harden who shoots around 35% from three, and he can clearly get to the free throw line. The best part about that, if you mix them together with Joel Embiid, if you mix those two together, Joel Embiid and James Harden, you have this crazy inside-out game where you're going to have to pick and choose the way you defend and how you are going to defend Joel Embiid. There is one dilemma, and that's clearly one guy is very ball dominant, and he wants the ball in his hands, and you play isolation basketball where you're taking a man one-on-one, you're going to dribble, you're going to try and beat him. Yes, you'll get fouled, you'll go to the free throw line because that's what James Harden has done throughout his career. And if you're going to give him a lot of space defensively, fine, then what's he going to do? He's going to hit you with a step back after a couple dribbles in between the leg, and he's going to drill a three, right? So there's a lot to be said about how much he has the ball in his hands and what does that mean for Joel Embiid. Right now, Ben Simmons, yes, he has the ball in his hands all the time, but he is a facilitator. He is a pass-first guy. James Harden did average 7.5 assists per game, so it's not as if he doesn't pass the basketball. I am sure that he'd be willing to dump it in to Joel Embiid, let him go to work, let him score some points, and James Harden will pick up the assists. He will draw a lot of attention, too, as he goes to the basket, as he potentially gets fouled, and maybe that allows Joel Embiid to get open and get more available. Maybe you can utilize more pick and roll type game, and Doc Rivers as a whole would do that. But I stand true to the way I feel about this one. While James Harden is great, and I was shocked to hear, honestly, all of the Ben Simmons defenders, because a lot of the time I'm so heavy on defending Ben Simmons that the Ben Simmons haters come out with a lot of my podcasts. They rip me into pieces. They say this guy sucks, this guy blows, he can't shoot, you will never win with him, you got to get rid of him. I was stunned by all the people defending Ben Simmons, saying I would not trade Ben Simmons for James Harden. Now, some of that is some James Harden disrespect. There is a ton of James Harden haters out there because, well, you know what? Sometimes he has poor performances in the playoffs when he needs to step up. He's not the best defender in the world. Because he's a high-volume shooter guy, there's games where he falls flat on his face and he can't shoot out of the slump. Look, if you're a high-volume shooter guy, there's going to be games where you are not lights out. There'll be games where you drop 55. There'll be games where you get your average in there, and then there'll be games where you are just disgustingly awful. And if that game so happens to be in a bigger moment, well, guess what? The binoculars are on you more, and you will receive more criticism. But there's a ton of people who just think James Harden stinks, and this shouldn't even be a conversation. I would not do the deal. Let me be clear. I would rather have Ben Simmons than James Harden because Ben is 24, and I think that Ben's ceiling is going to be better than James Harden's ceiling. And I know James Harden, MVP league type stuff. I don't know if Ben Simmons and his game will always be talked about to that extreme when he gets to the level that I anticipate him to get, because the way the league works is you score a lot of points, you're flashy, you're this. That's what gets you those accolades compared to, Ben Simmons, who plays a different style that doesn't pop as much. And, yes, he'll get a lot of assists and he's athletic, but it doesn't, the best way to describe it is it doesn't pop and scream and give you all of those insane highlights, and he doesn't drop 50 plus points for it to maybe hold the same power from a league standpoint when it comes to accolades. It's more of a just domination standpoint more so than a flashy standpoint, and I think there is a difference when it comes to standing out from league accolades. if that makes sense. So I think Ben Simmons and his ceiling is better than James Harden and his ceiling when Ben gets there. The difference is James Harden, it would be ready to go right now, shorter window. Ben Simmons is more of a longer-term thing. It's a longer window. You got to be more patient, but I think the patience will ultimately give you a better opportunity down the road. I don't sit here and scream it needs to happen right now or else I'm not satisfied. I know bringing in a whole new regime, a new president, Elton Brand in the mix now in a different role. I know he's still a GM, but when you have Daryl Morey in front of you, you have a different mindset, a different role. Doc Rivers being here, whole new coaching staff. This isn't instant stuff. When you get a whole entire turnover like the Sixers did, while you hired these individuals to give you a jump start and to put this team on the right track, it doesn't happen within 1 year. There is so much to figure out, and Daryl Morey even alluded to that when he talked about it in his press conference. What you have day one isn't going to be instant. You got to find out what works. You need to see how the team is going to operate, how Doc Rivers can get the best out of some of these players. Okay, once you figure that out, what sticks, what doesn't stick, what can you get that might work out better than some of the other pieces you have on the current roster. So it is a journey, and it's not all about the right now. So with that being said, I would not do the James Harden for Ben Simmons trade, but that doesn't mean that James Harden is some poor player. They're both extremely successful, and it is about the what if for me. It's what if Ben Simmons does become the player that we want him to be. And I know that there's plenty of haters right now probably screaming at the YouTube screen or the Apple Podcast, Spotify app, whatever you're listening to this on, because yes, we are on all podcasting platforms as well, thinking he will never be that guy, Brodes, you're an idiot. Well, I don't know if he will or not, and I am willing to sink with the ship. I am willing to go down and drown with the Ben Simmons ship if that is the case, because the potential is there. The potential is too high for me to pass up on. If it doesn't work, fine. But I can't allow it to work in another uniform and know that I gave up on him for maybe 2-3 years of a James Harden. We know how hard it is to get to the NBA Finals. It's not an automatic with James Harden. I know people might think it is, but it's not. And here's a factor. This East is different this year. Right now, we talk about the Bucks, Miami, Boston. Don't forget about Brooklyn. Here comes Kevin Durant. Here comes Kyrie Irving. Here comes the Brooklyn Nets. Now, you don't really know what's happening with the head coaching situation there. Is that going to work out? Is it not going to work out? Only time will tell. Here's what I know. They have Kevin Durant. Is he going to be the same player after the Achilles injury? Maybe not the same exact player, but if you're 80% of what Kevin Durant once was, you are still a dog, you are still an insane player, and they are going to be a team that dominates, and they're going to give the East a run for their money. So getting James Harden, is that the difference in making the NBA Finals or not? I don't know if I truly believe it is, and let's say you stick with Ben Simmons. I'm not saying Ben Simmons is getting you to the NBA Finals this year, but as he continues to develop, as he continues to grow, I'm willing to take that risk that he gets to the guy that we anticipate him to be. I did think of something interesting, though, and I know this is out of the hypothetical conversation that we're having, but let's say Joel Embiid was traded for Harden, and really, that is an obnoxious hypothetical. But would Ben Simmons and James Harden be effective? How would that work? What would that be like? The good thing about James Harden, and this works with the Embiid thing as well, when it comes down to the fourth quarter, when it comes down to that get me a bucket moment, the Sixers don't really have that guy. Joel Embiid is that guy sometimes, but he's not the same legitimate bucket getter as some of the other players in this league. That is a big-time positive, a big-time plus out of James Harden. It would be, yo, dude, we need a bucket. Go get it for me. Yo, dude, we're down 5. It's the fourth quarter. There's about a minute or so so left. Go get that bucket to make it a one-possession game. Go get that three-pointer to make this thing closer. Let's go do this. Or, hey, it's a 2-point game. The Sixers are up. There's 50 seconds left. Go get the bucket to make it a 4 or 5 point game. Let's go do that. Joel Embiid can do that. I'm not saying he can't. Ben Simmons, though, right now in his career, he does have a block when it comes to getting points late. He doesn't like to live at the free throw line, so that limits his aggressiveness when it comes to getting to the basket. That definitely plays a role. James Harden is a guy where, hey, yo, let's go, let's close this one out. All right, no brainer. Let me get that ball. I won't even question it. Let me get that ball. Sometimes there were feuds between Russell Westbrook and him. Why was Russell Westbrook getting the ball closing out certain games? It should go in James Harden's hands. Now, sometimes you might have that dilemma if he was here, and it would it be Joel in the post, or would it be Harden at the top of the perimeter, dribbling the basketball and creating a bit? By the way, something to add with that, when James Harden is out by the perimeter, it's not just about his feet being at the 3-point line. It's about 10 feet back from that as well. That's the type of distance and range that he has. So talk about defense having to really be different, and think about what Joel Embiid could do in the post if that's the case, or where he can operate anywhere throughout the court because he can do a lot more than just post up and be a dog in the paint. The way that teams would have to defend, the spacing on the floor expands to another level that it would be intriguing. With all that being said, though, because I am pointing out positives, because that's what I want to do. I want to look at the positives of James Harden and the negatives with James Harden packaged up with Joel Embiid, and I want to look at Ben Simmons as well. There's flaws in Ben Simmons. He is far from a product, from a full-on legitimate product that brings you to the promised land. But once again, for me, when it comes to Ben, I know it's going to take some time. I know it's going to be a little bit until he gets to where I want him to be, and I'm willing to wait over making a very premature decision on Ben just because I want James Harden for a handful of seasons right now in this very moment. But I do think it's reasonable to think about it. I do think it's reasonable to have the conversation. And this one, there's reports for a reason. That's all I'm going to say. Now, Shams did say that the Rockets are not interested in moving on from him, and there's no way in hell that Daryl Morey would be the first guy they call. But if Ben Simmons is their best option in return, maybe it is. I think Doc, though, gets an opportunity to work with these two fellas. I don't think that James Harden is going to be a move, and I wouldn't do it. Me, personally, I would not do it. Now, I mentioned how we are broadcasting in the beautiful Manscaped Man Cave, and we do every single episode. Autumn is in the air, and Manscaped is here to ensure that you don't carve your pumpkins when you're grooming. And by pumpkins, we actually mean your boys downstairs. In fact, Manscaped is on a mission to change the way you approach caring for your balls. And great news, they just released their products in the UK, Canada, and Australia. There's nothing worse than being in the shower and you're grooming downstairs, making sure everything's beautiful and perfect for the woman. And he stop! Oh no! He starts to bleed a little bit. It's like, come on, this is not the time for that. Well, you don't have to worry about that with the Lawnmower 3.0, which has a ceramic blade with advanced skin-safe technology, which reduces all of your grooming accidents. They also have their new Weed Whacker, which is an ear and nose hair trimmer, uses the same skin-safe technology, by the way. The Crop Care Kit, which includes the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant. Everyone knows pumpkin spiced lattes and ball deodorant goes hand in hand. The Crop Cleanser Body Wash, the Crop Mop Ball Wipes, you name it. The Manscaped Refined Cologne is cost-effective way to smell clean and fresh for your date. They have literally everything. So go to manscaped.com. Use promo code BROD, B-R-O-D, for 20% off and free shipping. It is a legit no-brainer. All right, let's move on to the second piece here. Ben for Devin Booker. Now, it's being reported that Devin Booker not happy in Phoenix, and I wouldn't be either. It's not like they're building much there. It's better than it once was, but they are struggling. Now, one of the reasons why I was off on Harden is age. Devin Booker, 24 years old, same exact age as Ben Simmons. That is something that is very factored for me, and that moves the needle in a positive sign. So you lose some on defense because Ben Simmons is an elite defender, and I mean elite. He is the best defender 1 through 5. And I mentioned how the accolades in the NBA is sort of skewed, and it normally targets certain players and their style of play. When it comes to Defensive Player of the Year, it's always about the rim protectors, the big guys, people who get a lot of blocks. Ben Simmons won't get as much praise as some of those big men, but Ben Simmons is a legitimate elite 1 through 5 defender and can do it at an unreal pace that should get recognized more than it does. You lose defense, but what you get is a 26.6 points per game score, 6.5 assists per game, 35% from 3, and the dude legit gets buckets. Now, I am more intrigued by Devin Booker than I am James Harden. I think the age plays a big role. If I'm willing to allow Ben Simmons to grow and give him some time, I'm willing to give Devin Booker some time as well. And I think playing with someone like Joel Embiid could make a monstrous difference to what Devin Booker is playing with in Phoenix. Now, there was a time where I looked at Devin Booker as a kid who just scored a lot of buckets. Like, there's always a guy who scores a ton of points on a bad team. And that doesn't mean that there are some bad player, but it also doesn't mean that there's some great player. At some point, guys on bad teams are going to score some buckets. You know, the team is getting blown out by so much that there's not a lot of defense played throughout the regular season. They go up, they score points. You know, at one point, I viewed Devin Booker as this kid who just scored a shit ton, but it never really related in winning, and he was just a guy who scored a lot of points. But over the years, my mind has changed on him, and I look at this potential trade in this barroom talk conversation, and I would actually lean towards yes. This is one of the first times I sit here and talk about Ben Simmons in a trading manner. There's been a couple guys I've mentioned throughout the years. Damian Lillard was one, although the age with Damian Lillard definitely plays a role. And you would say, Brodes, I mean, come on, you would trade Ben for Damian Lillard, but not James Harden. Yeah, it's a sticky situation, no doubt about it. I think, yeah, that might sound crazy, but you know what? Yeah, I think that is how it would go in my mind. I would trade for Damian Lillard. I probably wouldn't trade for James Harden, and call me crazy, but for Devin Booker, 24 for 24, you would have to, and I mean legit have to sit there, take the phone calls, and assess the situation, because this kid is a stud. And this kid is a scorer. And I talked about how Harden can go get you a bucket. Devin Booker can go get you a bucket. You need a closeout bucket. He can get it for you. Doc Rivers loves to operate with the pick and roll game. He can handle the basketball. He can do a lot. He can put the ball on the floor. He can shoot from distance. He can break people down off the dribble. You name it. He can attack the rim. The one reason why I think that this could work out is if you are the Phoenix Suns, and this is the problem when people like to discuss these type of things, they always forget the other team is a part of this. So if you're the Phoenix Suns, put them in your shoes. Put yourself in their shoes, I should say. If you get a phone call from the 76ers, knowing Devin Booker's unhappy, knowing Booker doesn't want to be there, and knowing that you will eventually lose this guy, the Philadelphia 76ers pick up the phone and they say, hey, I'll give you Ben Simmons for Devin Booker. And you go, hold on a second. You're telling me I'm probably going to lose Devin Booker because he's not happy with how we operate. He's not happy with the way this team is going. Superstars run the asylum. If they want to get out, they will get out. They will find a way. They will put pressure on us. So if we have a chance to get a Ben Simmons for Devin Booker, whether we think we're taking a step back or not, or whether we feel a certain way about Ben Simmons or whatever, you're getting the best value back that you can possibly get. Plus, we got to sell this to the fan base that we got something positive in return as well, and not just losing Devin Booker for some slop. Yeah. You know, I won't take Ben Simmons. Looking around the league, how much better can you get from a potential standpoint than Ben Simmons. Now, I'm sure that there would be teams willing to give up on some of their great talent for a special player in Devin Booker. Don't get me wrong. But is it absolutely 100% no-brainer better than Ben Simmons? I would find that hard to believe. So my point of bringing that up is I think Ben Simmons would be at the top of the conversation when it comes to what you can get in return for Devin Booker. And that is one that, based off of the age, based off of what I think he can grow into, I'm okay with potential. I know in baseball that's the biggest no-no. You don't trade a proven player for the possibility. But sometimes in basketball, when it's so powerful, the league is so powerful when it comes to one player. So if that potential leads you down a road of that one player, you got to take a shot on it. One player in basketball is different from one player in hockey, in football, in baseball. One player in basketball can be the difference in making 8 finals runs or no finals runs. So with that being said, if you have the chance to maybe land that piece, you got to go for it. And that's why with Harden, Ben Simmons, I stick towards Ben Simmons because I think he could be that piece. With Ben and Devin Booker, I think both can possibly be that piece. And I would be willing to take a shot on Devin Booker as well. So I would lean towards Devin Booker in that scenario. Call me crazy. I know what Ben Simmons can do. I support him every single day of the week. But there's something special in that kid. And he has the ability to score in so many different ways. And he has that killer mindset. And he's not afraid of the moments. And he wants the ball in his hands. And I think operating with someone like Joel Embiid can be a big-time difference maker. And, you still have Tobias Harris at the 4. And you might move some other pieces in there as well and whatnot. But, hey, you're on to something with Devin Booker. And you know what? I'm intrigued. And as I said about the assists, 6.5 assists per game. Kid can move the rock. Kid can dish. Can have the ball in his hands. If you ask me right now, where would I lean in this hypothetical? Devin Booker. Until maybe the third option. Now, I need a sip of water before we continue here. I'm getting a little bit dry mouth. I did 4 hours today on 97.3, and now here I am after the show, talking more sports, of course, but, I need a little pick-me-up here. I need a little agua. Is that what it's called? That's what I'm talking about. All right. Ben, Joel, Jrue Holiday. This one's really interesting. I like Jrue Holiday. I think he's a good player. Not a great player, good player. Lower end all-star. Is that enough, though, to bring you to a championship? Does that move the needle more than Devin Booker? Like, if you have Devin Booker and Joel, do you feel more confident in that than Ben, Joel, and Jrue Holiday? What about James Harden and Joel Embiid? Do you feel more confident in that over Ben, Joel, and Jrue Holiday? Jrue Holiday, 35% from 3, 6.7 assists per game. Last year, 19 points per game. The year before, 21 points per game. He can defend, ball handler, great leader, veteran leadership, be 30 years old, been around the league, right? Like a good dude. I feel like he's very underrated. He's a hell of a player. Being out in the West, though, that definitely limits you when you're a guard in this league because there's so many heavy-ass guards in that Western Conference. It puts you in a tough spot when it comes to recognition. So, you're in a tough spot to begin with just being out on the West Coast, especially playing for the New Orleans Pelicans as well. It's a franchise that normally doesn't get a lot of love, but with Zion being in the mix, yes, that definitely opens up the door for media attention and a lot more conversations in TNT games. Jrue Holiday, though, if you get him, let's say it takes Al Horford, it takes Josh Richardson, maybe it's a 3-team trade. Let's just throw something out there. How I see this playing out from an on-court standpoint is it upgrades Josh Richardson big time. Yeah, you know what? Josh Richardson could defend for you, but he's not that good as a ball handler. I expected way more. I thought he can be your primary ball handler at times, and that was not the case. Very underwhelming. He's got that funky shot. He had some moments in the fourth quarter where he would score 17 points, and he definitely had spurts of being an effective scorer, but I think you get an overall better version, way better version, to be fair, than Josh Richardson in Jrue Holiday. So let's say that you have Ben, Jrue Holiday, somebody else, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid. So who your three would be, that's still up in the air. Maybe it is Tobias Harris some nights, and then you have a different four, because I know that Doc Rivers has spoken about Tobias Harris. Sorry, I drew a blank there. Tobias Harris before about, the 3, the 4, depending on the matchups. He can play both. They can utilize him both. So let's say you have, though, Ben Simmons, Jrue Holiday, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. Are you pretty damn happy with that or what? I feel that would be a very strong 4 out of your 5. And then, of course, you'd have some moving pieces as well to be thrown in the mix in your starting rotation, too. I like Jrue Holiday. I think he's a very underrated player, but I just feel like he's in that weird spot of, being a good player. And is being a good player good enough? Here's where I think it can be. If Ben Simmons becomes the version of himself that I anticipate him being eventually, then you have Ben being the guy, and then you have Joel being the guy, and how much do you need more out of your third and 4 pieces in Tobias and Jrue Holiday? Like, the better Ben and Joel get, the less you need out of a Jrue Holiday. So if you need less from that role and you get more than what you even need, well, then you're in one hell of a spot. But I can see the argument that, with Jrue Holiday, he's just a little bit more than a guy. Is he just like a good player? And does a good player move the needle enough for you? I do think this team needs a second ball handler. And I've been saying this throughout the offseason here. As fun as the whole Shake Milton story was because of the game he had against the Clippers and what he did during certain moments and then the postseason run, if he's your starter and he's in your starting rotation as your second ball handler guy next to Ben Simmons, no, it's not good enough. It's not. Jrue Holiday, he can give you stuff. No doubt about it. He's an upgrade from Josh Richardson. He's a hell of a defender. He's a hell of a ball handler. He can definitely pass the basketball. He can get you a bucket. He can totally create a shot. I'm not saying he's the best shot creator ever, but he's versatile. Averages 20 points per game. Now, you can argue, so did Tobias Harrison. Look what type of player he is. Fair, but they're not the same player. They're not. I think Jrue Holiday brings way more to the table from a point guard, facilitator, bucket getter kind of standpoint. More efficient, if you will, from his all-around game. So those are the 3 options. And of the 3, I like the Booker one and I like this Jrue Holiday one more than the Harden one. And I'm torn. I think the Jrue trade is probably the most realistic trade, so that makes me feel like that's the one that I feel more comfortable doing because I think it has the best shot of happening. And I don't want to give up on Ben. I would maybe do it for Devin Booker. Not even maybe do it. I think I would do it. And that's hard for me to say. It really is. It's hard for me to say. I think I would do it for Devin Booker. Whew. Which one, Booker or Jrue Holiday? I am actually really torn on how to feel right now. I'm giving myself 15 more seconds, and whatever answer comes to my mind, because right now it is back and forth. I'm weighing all the options. Oh no, what do I do? Brodes, pick one. Seriously, Brodes, come together here. Take a deep breath. How do you feel? What is the best option? I think the best option would be Devin Booker. Yeah, I do. I think the best option would be Devin Booker. I think the third option would put you in a better position than you are in right now, which is still a good thing. It's not a bad thing to do the Jrue Holiday deal and upgrade that way. Maybe unload a Al Horford contract with that 3 teams maybe as well. That can open the door for more pieces to be added and to go down another path with Daryl Morey. It would definitely be very intriguing. Absolutely. I think the Devin Booker move would probably be better long term, and that's saying a lot. Now, I'd be nervous to give up on Ben. I'm not saying it would be easy. I'd be nervous giving up on Ben because I feel strongly about his ceiling. And if he hits that ceiling in another uniform, I'm going to be smacking myself in the face every night. Truly disappointed in myself. But I know Devin Booker can play too. That's the thing. I know what I'd be giving up, but I know what I'd be getting as well. Whew, this is interesting, though. Like, I can see people going back and forth all day long, freaking out on one another, going down one road. No, you're stupid. No, you're stupid. No, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. And that's the beauty of sports debate, right? That's the beauty of these sports topics. So, with that being said, Devin Booker is my choice. And if you want to stay put with Ben and Joel, not get Jrue Holiday and go down another road, that option is also available. So I want to hear your thoughts. Whether you're listening to this on YouTube, you can comment down below. If you're listening to this on the podcast apps, what you can do is use the review system as a comment section. People love to do that, and I react to those as well. I do need to say a couple words from some sponsors before we get out of here. First, DraftKings has brought their expertise to illegal sports betting. It's a legitimate sports book based right here in the U.S., so you can rest assured that your funds are totally secure. DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is safe, secure, and reliable. Deposit and withdrawal at your convenience. All new users have a chance to earn a sign-up bonus up to $1,000 when signing up. Download the app and use code BRODES, BRODES. Head to the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and check out all that they have to offer, including player props, live betting, and so much more. If sportsbooks are not yet available in your state, don't forget about the DraftKings Fantasy app, offering millions of dollars in total prizes every single week. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Also, do not forget about my friends at Orbit Energy and Power. With over 20 years of experience in the industry, they are home to your solar experts in residential and commercial projects. Their solar program helps eliminate your electric bill completely. They offer flexible financing solutions such as $0 down. They also provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. So check out their information. It's all down below. I know I've mentioned this a couple times, but I am in some serious pain when it comes to sports at the moment. I know football's back, and that's great, and it's been back for a while now. You're halfway through the NFL season. But now we would seriously be into basketball, and these Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, after a weekend of football where there's nothing on but this presidential election, which is becoming a nightmare. And on top of that, the Thursday night football game. You don't know who's playing, COVID this, COVID that. It's a wonky situation. Friday, there's some football on for college, but it's not that crazy. And you have the MACtion going on. Like, it's not fulfilling my needs. And I am really struggling when it comes to having no basketball, because this is the time of the year where, you know what, on a Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever, after football is done for the weekend, you would have some good basketball games on where you can put the recliner back, maybe get a nice cup of coffee at night. I got a nice bag of trail mix sitting right there from when I was watching the damn election, right, which was a nightmare, but yeah, I watched it. And look, I mean, I'd be sitting back, relaxing, eating some trail mix. It's a nice batch, too. Got some Greek yogurt on there, vanilla Greek yogurt, some raisins, almonds. It's a nice bag, nice item. I think I got a popsicle stick over there. It's about a nice popsicle. I could be watching the Sixers and doing that. I could be. But no. December, it seems. December, going through July. All right. I think I'd like that as it hits June, July, and you're used to just baseball, though I'm a baseballsman, so I'm going to have a little bit of both going on throughout that time, but that's fine. It definitely helps speed up the summer to get you back towards that football season, so I don't think it's a bad thing. But the NBA, what they can't do is get stuck in that area of going up against football again. It was a legitimate nightmare. It was a problem, and as much as all those hard rights want to claim that the only reason why that happened was because of Black Lives Matter, well, you're an idiot. It's just that simple. You might want to think that's the case. It wasn't the case. But you can feel that way if you want. You're obligated to feel that way. There's obviously plenty of other issues going on as well upstairs in your brain. But I digress. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.